And so if embracing your power was chapter 1 and expanding your power was chapter 2, for instance, in this case, what has to actually look different in a leader to see the behavioral changes or the difference between the two?
So embracing your power, all of the work that I do is around a specific model. We start with self-awareness. We then go to interpersonal relationships. We then go to teams or groups, and then we go to organization. And so these books are organized in that same way, because what I did was take this 19-day program. I wrote about the first 6 modules. I wrote about the first 3 modules in book 1. I wrote about the second 3 modules. So they're distinct and different, but they build on each other. But the part of starting with self-awareness, Robin, is if I don't know me, I can't even begin to know you, nor can I be empowered to know who I want to show up to be, right? So we're often aspiring to be better or more or whatever. Going back to those societal messages, we either get the message of we're not enough or we're too much, right? So we can display the same behaviors as men, but it can be viewed negatively. For a woman to be ambitious suddenly or certainly has a negative connotation. But for men, that's a leadership trait, right? Women are bossy, men are leaders. All of that kind of stuff is going on. But what I would say about all of that is we've got to start with that self-awareness. What are my strengths? What are my habits? What are my patterns? What are my defaults? And then we've got to go to, how do I use those to show up as the person I want to be or the leader I want to be? And then, okay, how do I want to interact on a one-on-one, those interpersonal relationships where we talk about how do you build trust? That's a huge part of building relationships, and relationships that are not based on a foundation of mutual trust. They're shaky relationships, right? So you want meaningful relationships, you gotta start with how you build trust. We have a framework for building trust. Here are the behaviors, all of that kind of stuff. So that's book 1. So the subtitle being A Woman's Path to Authentic Leadership and Meaningful Relationships. And that authentic part is none of us are going to do it exactly the same way. So, in the first book, we talk about what are your values and how do you live those values? Because if I make choices and decisions based on my values, I like them a whole lot better. But I got to know what my values are. So again, going there. Then the second book, Expanding Your Power. And power in this world, or in the context of my work, is I have the power to choose who I want to be. I have the power to make those free will decisions day in and day out 100 times a day. So without that clarity of knowing who I am, that's why that self-awareness piece is, but I've got to be able to have the clarity of that to build the relationships. And so the authentic part is each of us is going to do that in different ways, playing to our different strengths. And then the second book, the subtitle is A Woman's Opportunity to Inspire Teams and Influence Organizations. So inspiring teams is about setting expectations, providing feedback, removing roadblocks, recognizing good performance, the understanding of group dynamics about creating psychologically safe environments for people to contribute their best work, how to handle conflict situations, how to make group decisions. There's different processes and styles and ways to do all of that. Also in leading change efforts, and that could be either team or organizational. And then all the organizational dynamics around power, around policy, around practice, around planning, pay structures. That's the ability to influence organizations to bring more equity and fairness to the world so that women don't make 89 cents on the dollar or less in, various countries. And so we start with you and then we go big, right? And so that's the 2 books. And I will tell you, Robin, together, these are their own leadership development programs. So if your company or your organization doesn't have it or isn't willing to invest in it, You can take these 2 books, and they're full of frameworks, checklists, tools, roadmaps, blueprints, reflection questions. You can read it individually, or you can do it with a book club, a reading group, a women's resource group, a mentoring circle. There's a variety of ways, because it's about availability of it. Everybody can't go to a program. Affordability of it. Most people can afford a book. And, then you get to use it, and it's a resource for you forevermore.